with.
Excuse me?
I said, did I just drop out for that whole thing?
Yes.
Yes.
You
Damn
did.
it.
You did, Connor. Way to fuck it up.
Joke
We are
was
a professional podcast.
Joke was in those 10 seconds, I didn't come up with an opening bit, and the universe decided that my opening bit would be silence.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We heard like part of a word at the end there, and that was it. Yep.
Damn it.
Oh, Las Vegas was a mistake.
I mean, why do they come to this fucking build a city here? Like,
why did people choose to continue to live there is the bigger question, I think.
The mafia.
yeah, exactly.
The mafia is the reason to all of this. Like,
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly the answer.
Well, and on a larger scale, swaths of California, like the most populated cities in California, are also going to have the same thing eventually happen to them, which is the Earth is going to reclaim them for where it rightfully belongs, because that's desert out there, homeboy. That's all it's going to be in the future. So,
In a big giant fucking fault line.
yep. So do all the cocaine you can now. You B-grade movie stars like Jamie Kennedy.
don't encourage Andy.
That was someone's takeaway. Like, oh yeah, Jamie Kennedy movies. Blah! I'm like, our legacy is so fucking bizarre.
Well, Andy kind of hijacked the show and decided to start talking about that. And
As we anticipated he would.
yes.
I mean, during a recent LHP recording, that is how Eric Sayor sold the episode. So says something about that moment in time. That's what
Excellent.
By the way, he loved it. That's an inside thing, but he loved
awesome.
it.
Awesome. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I uploaded that Midsommar thing I made to the Movie Dumpster Instagram.
Mm.
my God.
Joe and Sean wouldn't not let me do that. They were like, "You gonna upload it?" I'm like, "No, it's this dumbest thing I've ever made. Should I?"
Yes.
Oh my God. I can't believe that a dumb joke culminated in a beautiful masterpiece.
I'm gonna go check out the Insta right now and see how it's doing. Part of me is hoping I get surprised. Hang on.
That reminds me of something I've wanted to make for a long time, and I'll just say it here because maybe I'll actually do it. I've wanted to edit audio of Tim Roth, saying doing like his streaming thing in the back of the car from
Reservoir Dogs.
From Reservoir Dogs. I wanted to edit that audio into Annihilation with the bear scene.
Oh yeah. No, actually, you know what? You need to do that.
Yes, you do.
Whoa, 193 views. Okay, it's only been up for 2 hours.
No, that works.
I'll see if maybe it gets me a few YouTube subscribers too to my channel that has only that.
Send it to Nintendo.
Yeah, send it to Nintendo. Let Miyamoto see what he has wrought upon the world.
I can't wait for them to send a lawyer at me for some reason.
Oh, they will. They will.
Yes.
Exactly. We heard you used our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not if you put a Disney logo over something in
Jesus.
there, and then it won't. And then because two companies can't sue you at the same time, as I learned.
You should definitely do that, Connor.
Wait, really? Two companies can't do it at the same time?
Basically, yeah. So there's a way to circumvent YouTube's like copyright strike system by stuffing your video with so many instances of like intellectual property that no one in their right mind can justifiably say, I can monetize that video because using my stuff.
Yeah, basically. You make it so that it's impossible for them to do that. I think that's why Aldo Jones gets away with his trailers.
Jim Sterling does it for Jimquisition, and Cosmonaut will do it when he fears a video will get struck, so he just does what he describes as egregious things to the footage.
Yes.
And puts in like dancing anime girls like every like 2 minutes.
It's like dancing anime cat girls and like
in the corner it says, I'm sorry I have to do this.
Yeah. And we had a problem with it on our channel because Smallville Chronicles was getting copyright strikes somehow.
Because
I don't understand why.
It was because of the song. I think that's why Lou had to speed it up.
But it was also the visuals. It was also the fact that he was using screenshots from the individual episodes.
It also doesn't help that they played the entire episode on certain podcasts.
It's just Lou and Al for 5 minutes, then they play the entire audio from the episode.
I would listen to that every week.
Arnold.
It's just uncomfortable sighs every once in a while.
I would tune in every week.
I still wouldn't. Sorry, Lou.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
I don't know. Those 5 minutes, I would savor them like somebody, like a World War II veteran watching Saving Private Ryan. Just like, oh yes, I know that feeling.
It was commentary like Arnold, like when Arnold does commentary, where he's just telling you what he sees.
And he's always excited about it.
When he's high as shit, you mean the whole time? Like
she has gigantic tits. It's fantastic. You should.
Then you make them bigger. It's great. Look at them, and they shrink again. It's wonderful.
This is the part where she tries to have sex with me. See, she's doing it right now. See,
no. Like the Total Recall commentary is a fucking treasure because he's like, yeah, and then shoot the guy, and then he dies.
That's specifically the one that I heard. He was very high while they were doing.
I love that so much.
There's a band, before we get into our actual topic, there's a band called Arno Core, and they have a song called Exactly, and the song is made entirely of segments from the commentary track for Conan the Barbarian. That's it.
That is fucking incredible.
There's
without context.
There's another band called Get to the Chopper, which is Get to the Choppa, which is all about Predator, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and I think there's a third one too. I think they're commando based.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Wow, we're really keying into something that I recorded recently.
They discovered it, John.
But anyway, we were talking about Midsommar before, and that can reaching back for a segue into horror films. In April, we were toying with the idea of doing a movie special for Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. It didn't happen, so then we pocketed the idea, and here we are. And we're going to talk about horror movie remakes and why we keep getting bad ones, and why the good ones are as good as they are.
Yep.
We haven't introduced ourselves, but do we care to at this point?
I don't give a shit.
No. If you don't know
Connor.
who we
There
are,
you go.
I'm Lou Gonzalez.
We'll introduce people who are new, but fuck this introduction shit. You know who we are.
Okay, if you can't tell who I am by now, fuck you, alright?
What if people need to know who you are because they need to know if the 5G rays have taken over your body?
What do they need to know? You've not been taken over by the deep state.
Making the friggin' frogs gay.
I have a group of Dobermans that are with me at all times, and they know the scent and the power of true 4G, because 5G is an Antifa deep state plot.
God, that was like conspiracyception. Just several layers deep.
Also, they have the bite strength to be able to go through tensile steel. I've seen them take apart a nuclear sub.
So we mentioned Air, and Arlen just watched it yesterday?
Today, right before this show.
So, have you seen it? It was the first time since theaters?
I was Connor.
I know how presumptuous of me. First time ever?
No, I saw it after the fact. I have no idea when, on HBO or something. And I have no good memories of it. Nothing, honestly. And rewatching, I was like, oh, the good things I remember about this, those aren't here either. I just made that up. I just did a new movie in my mind.
The one good thing about that movie has nothing to do with how the movie plays out, and it's Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger, and that is wasted entirely.
Well, that in my memory, it was the micro dream thing. I remember that being like an interesting
concept.
But it's barely there.
The one thing I haven't watched this movie yet because I don't hate myself. The one thing I remember from it is him tearing off his, I forget what it is. It's like a jacket, and like you can see the striped sweater underneath. I think that's just cool imagery. Like that works.
Yeah.
Oh, that's in the trailer. Because they show the parents of Elm Street attacking him in the trailer. The movie commits a cardinal sin. Just one. And
It
honestly,
exists?
its existence is a slight against God. It tries to present the idea that Freddy may have been an innocent man and he was unjustly killed, which flops like all the thematic stuff and the tension and the way the story is all redistributed, and then they just renege on it and go, "Nah, he's bad."
Yeah, they want it to be a reveal that he was bad, and it's like, do we need that? Do we?
No.
Dude's killing people with knife hands. We know he's a bad guy.
Yeah, we love his knife hands.
It's more interesting if there wasn't a reveal and it was that he was like a good guy just getting revenge. That's something at least. That's an admirable choice, but they make no choices. That's my biggest problem rewatching it today is compared to like the 2009 Friday movie. That movie makes choices. That movie says we're going to do this, this, and this, and these are things that you might not like, but they're interesting at the very
that movie
least.
At least was like, let's just do 1 through 4 in a marathon, and we'll amp up the intensity, and we'll make Jason this like terrifying 6 foot tall survivalist.
Yeah.
In this, he's just like, I'm Freddy Krueger, boo,
and
scared of me, Katie Cassidy.
In that movie, in Friday, they do things you've never seen in a Friday movie before. A grown man punches Jason in the face. That never happens in any of the previous Fridays.
Well, it did in the one movie you absolutely hate.
Well, yeah.
Here's the only way they can stop that.
I mean, like, successfully. Like, there's a moment where I only know him as Sam Winchester, where it seems like he's actually going to beat Jason to a bloody pulp.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, he's going to win because he's also a giant man.
So here's the way you one up Freddy getting punched in the face. Just a full blown German suplex. That's the only way.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean,
Rooney Mara, who is like 150 pounds soaking wet.
Yes.
You just
Specifically her.
Yeah. Well, no, she's in the movie. Do you not know this? She's the Nancy.
Dude, I don't know anything about this movie. I don't remember it.
It's so weird. Rooney Mara, who like became kind of a big star for like a minute in this movie, very strange, very weird. She's out acting every person that she's on screen with, because they're all bad for the most part.
And our favorite Black Canary shows up in the first 10-15 minutes as what's her face, who gets ceiling dragged.
I thought for a minute she was going to be the lead character. If I didn't know what was going to happen, they kind of convinced me for a second. So
with that scene where she dies, I'm like, how is this less effective visually? Like, there's been how many years of advancement in tech and special effects? Just like she float and she die. That's the extent of it.
Yeah.
In original, she's ragdolled across the ceiling for what feels like 8 minutes.
Exactly. Most of the kills are not interesting at all. They're very boring. And they try to do like the one-liner thing, and you can tell that they were done after the fact. That they had Jackie Earle Haley in like a recording booth, like, okay, guys, I guess I'll do the one-liners. And they all fall flat completely. And it's just like, what are you doing? Also,
they're not funny one-liners either. Like, he's not joking. He's not being fun. He's not being entertaining. He's just being, he's evil. He's dead.
Right. Also, I want to know if you feel the same way. He's overlit. And
it makes his face look really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It looks like a thumb with eyes.
And it's just like, when I go back to the original Nightmare, like, the things that were terrifying is the fact that it does feel kind of real in a strange way. The characters are relatable, and you don't really see Freddy for the most part. Not well lit, at least. He's hidden in shadow, and he's very eerie.
Got freaky long arms. I remember that.
Yeah. They capture the sense of being in a dream really well in that movie. Not really in this movie. Not at all. They don't do much with the lighting. It looks like the same shot over and over again. It's that bleach processing look that all 2000s movies have. it's just an ugly, bad movie. I can't.
And the makeup on Haley is minimalist as compared to original stuff, and it does he looks like a zombie. He doesn't look like a burn victim. He just looks like he's rotten, and I'm like, that's not really as effective because Freddy's face is very, very distinct. You sucked all the detail and fun out of it, and now he's just kind of this guy with a weird look with no nose.
Looks like a shitty Fallout ghoul.
The part where
it looks like a ghoul.
The part where the part where he's the scariest is when he's on fire. That's the moment where he's the least just ugly and dumb looking. just bad choices. Again, they made no choices. It was a lot of stuff where I'm like, okay, this is what I expect from a 2010s Nightmare on Elm Street remake. But it was nothing that I didn't expect or nothing that I couldn't have predicted would be there. And I don't know. That does not interest me at all. Give me something I haven't seen before.
He also followed the original movie closely and didn't really feel like branching off and doing something that was different.
Yeah.
Which, like we said, Friday the 13th, I think is awesome. I think it's super fun. Seeing Derek Mears run at somebody is pants-shittingly terrifying. Apparently he's also, I've described him as it's Jason if he was a decathlete. He can fucking throw real far, he can shoot real far, he can run real long.
He got that glute game real strong.
Yeah. And this is the other thing. They kill people in that movie you don't expect them to kill. Like, people who you expect to die immediately live very long in that movie for most of the runtime. But then they kill people that were like, oh, I did not expect that person to die at all. I expected that person to maybe be the final girl or something.
I thought Danielle Panabaker was going to make it to the end, and she gets offed very, very easily right towards the climax, and Jason just tosses herself like a fucking bag of garbage.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's yeah.
So
you're saying Jason's an MRA guy, or at least a red pill dude?
Yeah, he's been red pill. He's been red pill.
That's what they should do now. They should make him a Richard Spencer type.
He comes out with his MAGA hat on.
We can't do a fucking thing with Jason for what feels like forever.
He's going to use it for perpetuity. Sort of truth.
Like that podcast I was telling you about, Connor, where it's Jason attacking in broad daylight, and like the entire camp is trying to fight him, but they're just getting annihilated. Like,
I want it.
Like, I need it. Like, he goes on a rampage and he kills everybody. The only reason somebody gets away is because they're like pretending to be dead.
I've said the best Friday movie I've seen in the last recently was that fan film called Don't Hike Alone. It's like an hour and a half long too, or something. It's pretty long. And it's one guy camping through the woods, and he happens across an abandoned, desolate crystal lake, and Jason attacks him, and they have an extended encounter throughout the rest of this short film. It's broad daylight. They fight all the fucking place. They trash one of the houses. They're knocking each other off roofs. It's really fucking good. And then towards the end, the guy who played Tommy Jarvis in Part 6 shows up for a nice little cameo.
Oh.
No, what was he doing? You know.
Exactly. Friday came out, I think, a month after or before probably my favorite horror remake of all time, and that's My Bloody Valentine.
That movie.
I never finished it. I never finished it.
Really?
Which version did you watch?
I had the 3D version, whatever, the one that came with 3D glasses. But yeah, I don't know which version it was. I started watching it and got like 45 minutes in, and something came up, and I was like, I'll get back to this, and I never did.
Oh, because the ending is awesome.
Yeah.
It's actually it bucks the direction of the original one and uses ideas that were presented for the the sequel that never got made to the original one.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, I think it's Tommy comes back and people think the killing start again, and people think he is the new warden fill-in. So he's immediately put under suspicion. I can spoil the new one for you if you want.
I don't. How old is that movie? I don't care.
2009. It's like 11 years old.
Yeah, it's I'll be dead by the time I get around to watching it again. So go ahead.
And here you go, listeners. Spoilers for an 11-year-old film. Tommy is the Harry villain this time. He's there's some kind of event that like snaps him psychologically, and it's been him in the miner suit the whole time, and him and Axel have a showdown in the mine shaft. It's fucking awesome. And then he gets away.
I've seen the TV version of it. I've never seen the I guess
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's still a good movie. I just wish I saw the uncut version.
That's the only version my mom would let me.
The R-rated cut has a shot in slow motion 3D of the pickaxe guy shoving his pickaxe into Tom Atkins' jaw and pulling it off in slow motion, and his jaw flies at the screen.
That's
that one,
crazy.
And then there's the girl who gets pinned to the column or whatever, and she gets her.
Oh my god! Oh, when he that's the other thing too, is that the Harry Warden in this movie has. Like, he is as good with a pickaxe as Cap is with his shield. He throws a fucking pickaxe down a mineshaft like hallway, and it lands in a girl's mouth and pins her to a fucking post.
It's so good.
Fucking nuts.
Jesus Christ.
I love it.
Just
so
imagining
much.
it coming back to his
Such
hand.
a fucking good time.
Such a batshit crazy movie. It's so good. It's
like
it's
at
the
some
kind
point
of gore where you can't take it seriously. You have to laugh at it.
It's fucking applause worthy. And like at some point he's got 2 pickaxes and he's going off on people. One of my favorite moments of that movie is after he attacks the shit out of some guy. He pickaxes this guy in the chest like probably 27 times, something like that. The guy is an absolutely like he's just filled with pickaxe shaped holes, lying on the ground, and someone comes up and they check his pulse, and they're like, he's dead. I'm like, no fucking shit, he's dead.
Yeah, for real.
I get him some help. That movie's great, and its relationship to Friday is funny because both stars of Supernatural were in both of those movies in back-to-back months, and then we never saw them again.
Oh, we saw them. Just
if you can't tell, I was obsessed with both of those movies when they came out. Because I was a huge fan of that show at the time.
Yeah, before they had like 11 billion seasons.
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah. Before they were like, oh, let's do more episodes than Star Trek, Smallville, and X show all put together.
I think my favorite ever quote regarding Supernatural is Arlen saying, "If someone told me that Supernatural had 15 seasons while I was a teenager, I would have strangled them."
Well, yes, because you have to understand, at the time when that show was first airing, I was like, oh, this show's going to be canceled next week. Like, in the middle of the season, I was like, this show's done. Like, there's no way they're going to continue allowing this debauchery to go on CW. Yeah, there were multiple times where I was like, oh, my favorite show's off the air now. It's just gone. It's never coming back. And then cut to 10 years later, and it's like, they're still doing it. They're still
Why won't you die?
The plot twist in the final episode is that Sam and Dean have to kill the show Supernatural. Friday and Nightmare were both part of like a wave of remakes from Platinum Dunes, which included 3 Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies.
Yeah, and I think this was the end of the wave. I feel like that was the end of the wave. Maybe there were a couple others scattered at the other half of that. Halloween 2 came out after that, right?
That's the thing. I feel like the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, I didn't watch any of them, but I feel like they're kind of in a different corner. I'm not saying they're good, but I'm saying like they're not falling into the trappings that I've heard that the remakes of Nightmare and Friday fell into.
Sure.
Like,
no, and they make decisions that are both like really interesting and also fucking infuriating.
In terms of like story and stuff like that, I totally agree. I do think that they still suffer from stuff like looking very much like a 2000s movie. Rob
Zombie, for the life of him, does not have to fucking light a scene taking place in the dark, because in Halloween 2, I can't see what
Hello?
What the fuck is happening in that movie? And the first one is like.
Uh-oh.
Yo, Connor, you're cutting out real bad. We can't.
So once it's in remake,
Connor, we can't hear most of what you're saying.
Yeah, you just like disappeared.
Yeah. Oh no.
The desert is coming to reclaim him.
How about we stop the robot?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's just. I'll leave the call real quick and then come back and. All right.
Okay. I don't know what just happened.
All right. Well, the robot didn't crash on us, so that's good, I guess. Yeah. I'm gonna have to edit out that couple minutes of silence there, but that should be fine.
Yeah, because I lost everybody there for a little bit.
Yeah, I disconnected.
Mine completely had a fucking seizure. It just shut down. And it said like ice connection or something like that.
Shit.
They're after me.
Shit. Ice is coming for you.
Yeah. Where the fuck was I?
You were on a rant about Halloween.
Oh God. Okay.
Lighting.
So okay. So lighting, and then I was getting to Halloween 1, and as far as what moves once it's in remake territory, because the first 45 minutes of that movie are an origin story. It's kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. It's the most interesting when it's doing that, because you follow Michael as a kid, and Zombie kind of just presents him as like nothing happened to him. He's born absolutely rotten. He is a fucking bad egg.
Yeah.
And the conflict surrounds his mother trying her best to just get a normal kid out into society, and she fucking can't.
Yeah.
Well, isn't the mom played by Sherry Moon Zombie?
Yes, and she's actually good.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I'd read some reviews that she's just a screeching harpy most of the movies.
That is her role in what is it? Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and what is it? Three from Hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not so much that witch movie. She's actually very good in that.
Yeah, she's actually really good in that one. But yeah.
And then Halloween 2 complete apes Friday the 13th and has Michael following the spirit of his mother who is telling him to kill. Sound familiar?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So the mental gymnastics that I do in my head when it comes to the zombie Halloween movies is I just don't consider them to be Halloween movies. I consider it to be its own completely separate
They're
thing.
like Attack of the Killer Bum named Michael Myers.
Yeah, it's not the same thing, and because it does go against what I want Michael to be, which is this like force that like arrives into town and destroys everything. That's my preference, and that's Carpenter's preference, obviously.
Yeah, and I absolutely hate Malcolm McDowell's Dr. Loomis in Part 2 because it is it's not just a 180; it's a completely different person. Because in the first movie, he's Loomis. He's trying to save Michael. He's trying to stop any more damage from being done. The second movie, he is an arrogant author who's now a bestseller because he wrote a book based on the whole thing, and he's like, "Well, fuck everyone. I have money now." And he's just super, super, super arrogant and selfish, and he just gets his head crushed by Michael at the end of the movie. It's really, really disappointing.
Oh, well, I guess they kind of knew they weren't going to make any movies after Part 2 then.
Well, it ends with the idea that Laurie could be the new Myers murderer.
Yeah, I get the sense that Rob Zombie had sort of I'm going to make sure that they can't make a sequel to this. I'm
gonna write these fuckers into such a fucking corner.
I actually really respect that.
Yeah, same. I'm like, okay.
I can totally get down with that level of petty. I'm totally for that. Yeah. I don't know what other good remakes come to mind though. I know you said you had a list, Connor. Because
I've got a bunch of them in front of me.
It's sounding like there's a lot of really bad ones. I mean, one I can think of off the top of my head would be The Thing, because
that's so ubiquitous. Like, do we even have to?
That's the end all be all.
I'm just bringing that up because
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some people out there who don't actually realize there was.
I mean, if it does illustrate, to point it out just for 1 second, if it does illustrate something, it goes back to what I was saying about making something that's different. The Thing and The Fly, which I consider to be the other great remake.
Yes.
They both do things that are noticeably different from what they began with. And to me, that's the gold standard. Those two with the just holding a rope that all other movies are trying to get over.
Yes.
And most of them do not.
No.
Notably.
My attention to this list brought me to the Crazies remake, which I
forgot about that.
I think most people did.
Yeah, I actually liked that remake. It wasn't as bad.
I think it's better than the original one.
I haven't seen the original in forever.
It's been on my list. It's been there waiting for me to watch it. I just haven't gotten.
I remember seeing the trailer a lot when it was coming out. I was too young to see it, so I never saw it. You know what?
We're children. In case anybody didn't know,
literal child.
But I do remember being excited for it because my boy Timothy, he's in that.
Yes.
So I was
very fantastic
interested.
Yeah, that was my entire impetus for watching it. Was that Timothy Oliphant's in this? I'll check it out.
Right.
And it was also when we had first gotten Netflix streaming, I think. So it was on there from the beginning of Netflix streaming, I feel like. So it's like,
wow.
Cool. Yeah.
It's
been there forever.
Him and Rhoda Mitchell from Silent Hill are both awesome in that movie. But as far as the original one, it's more like it's less of an actual outbreak and more of like kind of fuck ups, isn't it?
I thought they tried to explain it like it was human rabies.
Yeah, I watched it recently, and it's kind of an outbreak movie, but it's also just like it's a commentary on government incompetency and bureaucracy.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that it's sort of aiming its gun at. It's really just going after that and how bureaucracy can just undo everything that they're.
Wait, is this the American equivalent of Shin Godzilla?
Kind of. It actually it kind of is.
Kind of is.
This is kind of a spoiler for the original The Crazies, but I don't know who's actually going to watch it. They have like the scientist character that's in many, many different films who's like, oh, well, he's going to save the day. He's going to come up with the cure. The thing that they do that's kind of great is they kill him off. But he's killed essentially because he runs into these soldiers who are like, what are you doing here? You need to go back into the quarantine area. And while he's trying to run away, he ends up falling down a set of stairs, holding the cure to the virus. And it's fucking fantastic. And he's great. He's in a bunch of Romero movies. He's one of those guys who's in a lot of them. I think he plays like one of the cops that's just like shooting random people in Dawn of the Dead.
Isn't he in Creepshow? In the second segment? The box?
Yeah, I believe so.
He's the husband.
Oh.
Yeah.
God.
The remake plays out like it's kind of a zombie film, but if your zombies in question had like simple machinery skills and still had their wits about them, essentially. They just want to rip your fucking face off.
Yeah,
and it's they become. It doesn't really focus on the government stuff. Like they're there and they're obviously shooting background, but like all the tension is around Oliphant trying to get like his wife and like his family and friends into safety out of the fucking town.
If I'm remembering correctly. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you go ahead. I was losing my train of thought.
I was going to say, when I was watching it, mind you, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I seem to remember thinking like, this feels kind of like 28 Days Later, just not as good.
Yes. What's certainly not as like, it's not as effective and brutal as 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
Because 28 Days Later brings you up like to a really nice, like euphoric high when like the happy stuff's going on and then crushes you 5 minutes later.
Yes.
Crazies has a sequence towards the end when Rhoda Mitchell is strapped to this she's like a stretcher or something. And there's all these like, possibly infected people also strapped to these beds, and they're in some kind of government camp. And one of the infected comes in with a pitchfork and just one by one starts stabbing these people with a pitchfork. It goes on for like 4 minutes. It's fucking nerve-wracking.
I vaguely remember that. Like, it's probably been like close to 10 years since I've seen this movie. So,
and there's a cool showdown at the end with at a gas station. And then the end is a nice tease because it shows them escaping, but it zooms out to like a map. And it shows a path of infection, and it's the town they're going to.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember it being a bummer ending, but I couldn't remember what it was. But yeah, well, everybody's got to get theirs at some point. So, yeah.
This one I might be controversial. I don't like the Ring remake.
I watched
the Ring remake.
I can actually talk about this.
Well, the Ring is a remake.
Yeah, Hunter, the one that came out in America is a remake.
You're shitting me, right?
So
no.
it should be said, I've never seen the original, the Japanese, The Ring, so I can't really compare it. But yeah,
yeah, Hunter, the Japanese one is called Ringu, and it's.
Sir, you've gone your whole life without knowing if there was an original Ring made in Japan.
Hey,
what do you think that what was the name of it? It was the two ghosts, the one from The Grudge and the one from Ringu.
Oh, Kayako versus Sadako.
Yeah. Like you knew about that,
I never
right, Hunter?
put that together.
Okay, I wasn't sure if this was a bit at first until you just said that. I was
my God.
Is he joking? Is this a bit? But no,
I'm not joking. I didn't know that.
Wow, that's
Well, I mean, here's the thing: revisiting the original one now, probably a letdown because you're like, this is such a fucking generic J horror movie. Now it's got the girl with the long fucking hair, and she's moving real slow, and she's pointing at stuff.
Well, that's kind of over Japanese horror.
Yeah.
But there's a way, like there was a wave of them. There was the Ring, there was Dark Water, there was Shudder, all having to do with like dead children or the ghosts of angry women. I think,
and they all got American remakes.
Oh God, they did.
Yep.
All did.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked The Ring, and I've seen some of those remakes, and they're all bad. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
The one that makes my blood boil the most is the Pulse remake because the Japanese version. Yeah, the Japanese version of Pulse is to this day one of my favorite horror films of all time.
Yes,
it's really interesting. It doesn't do anything you expect it to do, and it works more like a big giant essay on like human loneliness and isolation. The remake is loud noise, go boom.
Yeah, that's what it looked like from the trailers.
It is a screaming MTV 2000s music video for 2 hours.
Am I thinking of a different movie? There's I thought there was one that had either Hayden Christensen or maybe it's Ryan Felipe in it. I can't remember. But it was idea that there was some sort of weird pulse that was driving people insane, and I can't remember what it is, but maybe it was a movie that was out around the same time, and I was like, oh yeah, that's Pulse, isn't it? But I never got around to watching it.
Oh yeah, no, remember. Totally different.
Okay, nope.
Yeah, because and Arlen, you've seen the original Pulse?
No.
Okay, I might be the only person here who's seen it then. It's awesome. It's about ghosts basically having whatever space they reside in becoming overfilled, essentially, and they start pouring into our reality through like internet ports, electrical sockets. Like they basically infect the living world, and it's a very, very quiet, calm apocalypse because the way these guys attack you is that once you're exposed to them, like you're in this seemingly perpetual funk, like you just get real fucking depressed. You get lethargic, and then you just turn into nothing. You just turn into basically like a black stain on the ground. And then you've essentially been replaced by one of these things. And they have weird movements. They're sometimes they're just shadows that seem to move and skip frames. But over the course of the movie, you see locations that are very, very populated. And then by the end of the movie, there's nobody there. But they don't make a show out of it. Like at some point, a character's at an arcade and he looks up and all he hears is machines because there's nobody else in the fucking building.
Huh.
And then by the end of it, they show you some really horrific shit. Like as this is kind of heading, like coming to a climax, like planes are falling out of the fucking sky. There are cities on fire. Like there are these black stained like corpses all over the place. Fucking good. And like I said, the remake is, I think the box art has a bald, pale, screaming ghost, and that is what the whole fucking movie is. It's just ghosts. These bald guys. Yeah, it's weird. Like they all look the same. There's these beat up, pale, white bald men pop out of like dryers and fucking electrical sockets and go rah, and that's it.
Yeah, like everything I remember of it, I'm like, that sounds like they took all the subtlety and everything interesting about the original movie.
The original has a segment where a woman is talking about like being lonely, and then compares it to riding home on a bus and seeing a giant ant. I don't know how to explain. Okay. The ant's like got its fucking legs crossed and waves at her. And
so anyway, you hate The Ring, a movie that I think is a pretty well-made mystery that does a pretty good job, and it's compelling, and the characters are interesting.
I don't think it's badly made. It just does nothing for me. Like I don't get excited watching it.
Sure.
I think the first time I saw it, one of the twisted face reveals fucked me up. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I'm like,
is it the girl from the beginning that's with Amber Tamblyn, David Cross's child bride?
Oh God, that one.
What?
Yeah, David Cross and Amber Tamblyn are dating. They've been dating for years.
Well, okay. Well, now she's a woman, so I guess
I guess, yeah.
I guess doesn't make it great.
I mean, it's but still, I don't know. I didn't love The Ring, but I was like, oh, I could see why somebody was like, give this man a movie with pirates and Johnny Depp. I see how somebody watched it. No, I don't. I'm like, really, this guy? But until you throw in like the undead pirate aspect of Pirates of the Caribbean, I'm like, this guy, because it's a very like dark, gloomy, kind of depressing movie. And I was like, oh, we should bring this guy back again. This guy should make movies again. And then I remembered, he did not The Shape of Water. What the fuck was the movie he did with fucking Green Goblin fucking in it, and Sweden, and God damn it, what was that?
What? Are you having a stroke?
Switzerland. The movie in Switzerland. It's God damn it, what was that movie called? The Color of Water? The Water for something? I don't remember what it was called. But it's like a Hammer horror movie made today, starring Dane DeHaan. He goes up to this asylum.
What the fuck?
I know
Switzerland.
Shit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And it turns into like a fucking Victorian horror movie at the end.
A Cure for Wellness.
Yes, A Cure for... Does anybody mind if we spoil A Cure for Wellness? Because that movie gets fucking bonkers at the end.
I don't care. If I haven't seen it now, I'm probably not going to see it anytime soon.
So it's revealed that Jason Isaacs is like a 200-year-old man who is living off of the energy collected by leeches, but like micro leeches? Eels. Little like micro eels.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
So like he like rips his face off and he's like the Phantom of the Opera. And he's got like super strength in his shit. It's the craziest movie ever.
Right. It is a bonkers reveal.
I love it.
No, it's also like 2 hours. Like it's the longest movie ever for this reveal. Like it's not bad. I'm not gonna lie. Like I actually enjoyed parts of it, but
it's really good.
It goes batshit insane at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, now I'm gonna bump up that viewing time.
I'm gonna watch this movie now.
It's so insane, and like, there's so many moments, and I'm like, who the fuck made this? What person said, let's put this on screen? And nobody else was in the theater with me. Like, it opens, if I remember correctly, with a man committing suicide by throwing himself off a bridge.
Yeah,
love it.
So, yeah.
Feel good movie this summer.
Yeah, it's like a real me movie. I don't know. The Ring is fine. It's not great. I can kind of see why it kicked off like an entire subgenre for a little while there.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, holy shit, do I hate The Ring too?
Sure.
Never seen it.
stand that movie.
And as somebody who has not seen all of the movies that I'm about to say, but having just looked at the Platinum Dunes release schedule and looking at all that, in those first few movies where they were doing J-horror adaptations, any of those movies, as far as I'm concerned, are better than the Platinum Dunes remakes. Any of them. Like, Amityville Horror is a trash fire of a movie.
I have never seen that movie.
Oh, the one with Ryan Reynolds and not Eliza Dushku.
Mm-hmm. And
I forgot that movie came out.
has anybody ever seen the remake of The Hitcher? Do you know anybody who's actually seen that film? Because I don't.
I don't know anybody who's ever seen that film. Joe, maybe, because he would go out of obligation.
Well, yeah. Joe would go there just to, like, shit on it. Just to be like, I saw it and I fucking hated it.
If anything, to have his suspicions confirmed and then sit there silently for 90 more minutes.
Yeah, it's just like of all those movies, the best one is the Friday the 13th movie that we keep bringing up because it's the good one of all.
I was going to say, I mentioned those Texas Chainsaw movies, and I think those movies are good. If not, here's the thing: they are disgusting. They are repugnant films. They're super mean spirited. Everyone is fat, sweaty, covered in pus, blood, or something else. Like it's a gross ass film. It is, like I said, incredibly mean spirited. But Arlie Ermey is just chewing the scenery in those fucking movies, especially the prequel that came out after the remake. And I think the prequel's better because it's not being guided by a movie that came before it, like it usually is. It's supposed to be like an origin story about fucking Leatherface, but who gives a shit?
Well, is one of those Texas Chainsaw movies? Is that the one that had Jessica Biel in it? Or am I?
Yes, the remake had Jessica Biel.
Okay, I couldn't remember because I know that was one of the big selling points when she actually had some sort of star power in Hollywood. I couldn't remember which one. And there was another one that had what's her face? Alexa Diodato or something along those lines.
That's Texas Chainsaw 3D, and that movie is. I don't know a word in the English language to sum up how much I detest that movie.
Please tell us how you really feel.
That movie, okay, this is not a fucking remake, but it's one of the worst sequels I've ever seen. That movie opens with fucking the original Texas Chainsaw House. It's positioning itself as a sequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And we talked about this.
Fucking police show up, they shoot everybody there, like the Leatherface dies, the whole family dies. Like somewhere, someone hit a baby on the property, and then one of the cops takes the baby home, raises it as his own, and later on, I guess, another baby who was hidden away or something. Her cousin is the new Leatherface, and after a series of really, really lame kills and a whole lot of bad acting and bad color grading, the ending has the worst line I've ever heard in a horror film, which was "Get 'em, cuz," where she teams up with Leatherface to take out a bunch of rednecks, and it is fucking stupid.
I was envisioning when you said another baby shows up, I was imagining it was a baby that shows up
I immediately blacked out
after she was raised, so it ends up being a little baby Leatherface that's ending up breathing hard out on people, but he's only like 2 feet tall.
What the fuck is that movie? What the fuck is this anime ass shit where there's 2 babies raised separately and one of them's a villain?
Yeah, it's
what's this Curse of Grindelwald shit? They're this fucking
real bad. And then after that one, there was another reboot that was called Leatherface, and it's follow him before he puts on the skin mask, and you're like, why do I give a shit about this?
Why does anybody care?
Of it.
Oh, I remember you ranting about that one because you got it through extra legal means, and you're like, I can't even finish it, and it was free. I hate this.
I didn't finish it. It was fucking bad.
Yeah.
It's one of those series that just won't have the decency to kill itself. But we were talking about The Ring earlier, and I guess the movie that came up alongside of that blew up, I guess, just as much as The Grudge.
Yeah,
kind of,
and not for the right reasons, I would say, because The Grudge is a bad movie.
I don't think any of the Grudge movies, original or remakes, are particularly that fun anymore.
They weren't that fun to begin with. Let's be honest.
No,
nothing scared me more than the fucking Grudge as a kid. Like that, that kid meowing. I hate that. I can't even watch it.
The trailers for The Grudge scared me. The actual movie, boring as fucking nuts.
Yup.
Movie is a spoonful of Robitussin. The original has, I will say, now the kid got you, Hunter, but Kayako fucked me up because once you get the idea of why she is the way she is in her ghost form, you're like, that is monumentally fucked up. Because she's just croaking on her own broken neck the whole time.
Oh, that's what it is. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, she was strangled and pushed down a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
Well, why wasn't dinner ready?
God damn it! God damn it!
That is not a funny joke, but you caught me so off guard that
that was the whole point.
What the fuck?
Okay. On the subject of horror remakes, I think a general thing, so that we don't have to talk about every single one, is that there are a lot of horror remakes where, again, they just do nothing with the idea. They don't do anything new with it at all. Like Let Me In's of the world, which is a movie I don't hate, but it's literally Let the Right One In, just in English, and it's
even down to
the same thing.
Even down to pacing and tone and like the way it looks. It's the original one very very religiously, I guess.
Meanwhile, movies like Fright Night and Evil Dead are forgotten. They're just
holy shit!
God, I love Dead. I love that remake a whole lot.
Evil Dead or Fright Night?
Evil Dead.
I love both of them.
I own Fright Night. Like, that movie's great. Like, that remake. I mean, I liked the original one when I was younger. I haven't seen it in years, but that remake is so goddamn good.
The remake is probably one of the better horror movies I've ever seen.
I haven't seen Fright Night, but I've definitely seen Evil Dead, and holy shit, I love that fucking movie.
Evil Dead is just like, I saw that on my 18th birthday in like the middle of a blizzard with no one else in the theater, and it was like the coolest theater experience I've ever had.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think Jane Levy in that movie is like a different level because one, she has the most expressive eyes I've ever seen in my life, and when she is freaked out, they practically pop out of her fucking head. Just the way the Deadites operate and how damn mean they are. When what's his face is getting stabbed by the syringe in the eye, I was like, no.
Well, when that woman's using the electric slicer to take her arm off, it's so
it had enough nods to the original one to make it feel cozy in that series, but it's completely different in terms of just like execution, tone, intensity from the first one, because the first one becomes a fucking cartoon by the end of it. There's purple, green, and yellow blood squirting everywhere. They're flying through the air. They're overacting.
You're getting the second movie confused with the first one, because the first Evil Dead actually is creepy, I think.
Oh, it is, but
it doesn't go over the top too much.
The final 10 minutes when Ash is facing off against like the rest of his cabin mates is like, it's when it finally approaches like almost comedic levels, but it's still trying to be goofy.
I mean, I guess it's just because I saw that when I was like 11 on like Night Flight or something along those lines. It was just late at night after Saturday Night Live, and I was up until 4 in the morning watching it.
I will say that the pencil in the ankle is one of the most harrowing things I have ever seen.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I hate it, and especially with the prosthetic foot that keeps fucking going around as they move the pencil. I'm like, stop it! I'm uncomfortable.
It's great.
But the remake and the fucking ending of the remake, where it's raining fucking blood and Jane Levy's fighting a Deadite version of herself. I love everything about that film.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
You should watch Fright Night. You should, because it's good for a lot of the same reasons. Like Colin Farrell in that movie, chewing the scenery isn't enough of a descriptor of what he's doing. Like he's, and here's the thing: if you like the original, what they're doing is something different, but it's still like it feels right with what they're doing. And also, I think what that movie and Evil Dead have in common is that they can kind of be considered sequels depending on how you want to look at things.
I think that's you maybe
putting
some of your opinion into it.
Evil Dead.
He's not the only one who feels that way, though, because I think if you watch the Evil Dead remake through a certain lens, you could say, like, So this is when Ash is away indisposed or something, and like in the meantime, like the book is returned, the Deadites have returned,
Evil Dead I can see.
Yeah, and they've been stewing for so long. They've gotten meaner and meaner and meaner, and then finally, when these kids show up, they just they awaken a caged animal.
And in the case of Evil Dead, I don't even think that it's necessarily the same Ash. It's an Ash who had a similar experience to Prime Ash, I guess. And in Fright Night, I'm referring to things that the people making the movie actually said, where they're like, maybe this is the same, maybe this is kind of a sequel, because they point out that the vampire is supposed to be a different species than other species of vampires, and there are varieties.
I feel like that was just a way of giving a nod to the prior one, but not directly saying that, because I don't know, I like with Evil Dead, I totally forgot about that Ash cameo at the end, regardless of the Ash multiverse theory that you have, but just Fright Night.
Every Evil Dead is a different universe. You can fight me on this all you want, but it's true.
Fright Night, I feel like that was just kind of a nod to the original, just saying like, oh yeah, there's a different type of vampire. Like, I don't know. I like to live in a world where it's just a remake that was done well, because when you start having people who are making it saying like, well, maybe it is a sequel, it's like, no, it's not. You fuckstick. Just shut up.
No, I understand that point of view also, because I don't know. I like the openness of it. But I agree. To some extent,
I want things to stand on their own. If they're good, they don't have to be connected to something else at all times.
I do agree with that as well. But at the same time, I don't know. Some of my favorite remakes have done that. They've left that door open. So yeah.
My eyes went right to the Dawn of the Dead logo when you said "stand on its own," because you can watch both of them. You can watch the original Dawn and the remake back to back and have a different experience with each one.
Yeah,
and I love the remake. I think we mentioned it in the last episode. It's like Snyder is fantastic behind the camera, and he didn't control the story.
Yep.
So the story is not ass.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. It's fucking mean and brutal, and everyone's like, I people hate running zombies, but I'm okay with it. It's fine, whatever. Not real to begin with, so who cares?
Exactly. Well, and when it's done well, it's great. Like, you don't, it doesn't matter if they're running or slow or whatever. Like, and I guess that's my biggest thing is like with a good remake, like it knows that I'm going to take the best parts of potentially a bad movie and then extrapolate what I need from that and make a good movie out of this, as opposed to, no, I need to make it exactly the same as the old movie because it's a remake, so it has to be the same thing. Right. Like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah,
that's
like, it's so boring.
Exactly.
Isn't the remake of Psycho like a shot-for-shot remake of the original one?
It is, but wasn't that Gus Van Sant who did that?
Yes,
that was Gus Van Sant. Yeah,
I feel like that was more of him doing like a secret art house film than it was him like being like, I'm remaking Psycho.
I'm gonna see if I can replicate Hitchcock down to the finest degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also heard there was kind of a pettiness thing going on there also. Like, the studio gave him a list of scripts to do, and they were very heavily hinting at, you should do Psycho. And he was like, fine, I'll do Psycho. And that's the movie that he made. The movie that's just Psycho, shot for shot. So
starring everybody's favorite actor, Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, everybody's favorite.
Yeah,
like Blake Shelton himself.
I saw Quarantine same afternoon that I watched the original record, and that's what it's called, everybody. It's not called Wreck, even if I've referred to it as such. And when I sat to watch Quarantine, I've told the story before, they showed a teaser for the movie I was about to watch, and the teaser was the final shot of the film.
I feel like that should be illegal. That should be...
Yes.
Having be a finable offense.
Having watched the original before I went and saw it, and once I saw that, and he was basically presented with am I dropping out?
Yeah, you dropped out. Yeah.
Wait, hang on. Bloop, 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 bloop.
Oh, that works. All right, you're back. Awesome.
Yeah, Quarantine is essentially a shot-for-shot, moment-to-moment remake of the original Record. And honestly, just watch the original at that point, because I think it's better. And then the sequel is fucking insane!
Well, that's the thing with the remake of Record. Like, the only reason they did that is because, well, people don't want to read no fucking subtitles. Let's just give them the American version. Make them speak English. Sure. Like, that's my biggest problem a lot of times with remakes of foreign horror films is that the original version of the film is normally 10 times better because you have to dumb it down a lot of times for America, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
That's why the proposed Train to Busan remake has me super fucking nervous, because I don't want anyone touching that movie.
No,
I don't know if that one's actually happening, but like the
I don't think it is either.
Sometimes is they'll hire people who are like good. They'll hire people that I know are good directors and that have ability. Again, to go back to the let the right one in and let me in. That's the director of the later Apes movies, who is currently working on Batman. I know he's a good director. I know he has talent. So the fact that they just made him do a shot-for-shot remake of Let the Right One In, and for the most part change almost nothing, it just leaves me flabbergasted, because all they did that's different is I think it's like there's a flashback narrative in the American version. Like, they start from the guy who's in the hospital who got burned with acid, I think.
I vaguely remember that.
They start from there. That's the big difference. And then it's being told in backwards. But like, they just remade the same movie and they did nothing inspired with it. If they wanted to do a remake of Let the Right One In and just change everything that didn't really make sense for America, that's interesting, because that story would change if you actually set it in small town America. But they just were like, let's make it as close to the setting of the original movie.
It's like it's a Swiss town in the middle of America.
One of the interesting side note, I don't know if any of you knew about Let the Right One In. Like, I had read the book. The movie was based on shortly after I'd seen the original version, and one of the more interesting things in it is that the main character, who is supposed to be a little girl, is actually a boy who was neutered, essentially, when he was very young, before he was turned into a vampire.
I did hear this, Yeah.
And they kind of hint at that in the is it Swiss? Is the original version Swiss?
Norwegian, I think.
Something from the Netherlands.
Swedish. It's Swedish.
It is Swedish. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a scene where you see the vampire's real form, and it passes over quickly. But if you happen to look at the crotch, because after I read the book, I saw the movie again, you can see that it's just this garbled mess, and that's their little bit of a hint.
My God.
Yeah.
But in the American version, it's Chloe Grace Moretz, who, if you can't tell, she is a woman. She is a young lady, and there's no way to confuse her for anything else.
No, because I mean, if you think about the original Swedish version, like, even the young woman that's playing the vampire, like, there's kind of an asexuality to her.
Yeah,
like it's not definitive, like, female or male. She's just kind of an androgynous look, as much as little kids can have to an extent.
And I assume that works better even here in this country because of the vocal distancing and all that. And I can't really tell you the difference between a male accent and a female accent in Swedish. I can't nail those things at least.
Exactly.
Chloe was in that fucking Carrie remake that exists for reasons that go beyond me.
They made a Carrie remake?
Yeah.
And again, that's is it Kimberly Pierce, the director of American Psycho? I don't love American Psycho, but she's a good director. And you tell me that it's her doing Carrie, I'm like, that'll be something interesting, right? She'll do something that I've never seen before. From what I did see of it, it's just the exact same movie.
Here's
the same thing.
Here's the extra disappointing thing, and this happens, I'm sure, in any movie we can bring up that has been remade in the last 10 years. The climax is completely undone by so much bad CGI. So much of it. Whereas, like,
what did they need to use CGI for?
They just, like, Carrie's fucking, she's like, one, it's CGI gore, which is like,
well, she goes very Akira.
I fucking hate it. Yeah. I hate CGI gore because it never looks convincing.
No.
And she goes Akira.
Yeah.
Okay.
They up the body count, and like they do it for like POV shots of people getting thrown against glass. At some point, she's fucking levitating. It's like a hat on a hat. There's just so much going on. But at the same time, it's like, I've seen this before. You just add some fucking razzmatazz to it, and that's about it. It left virtually no cultural footprint. Hunter didn't know it existed.
I don't think most people know that it existed. Like, I think it's been completely forgotten. And there's something to be said for the casting of Sissy Spacek in the De Palma movie. Like, she makes sense as a woman who is pretty under the right circumstances, who can also be bullied. Chloe Grace Moretz is, like, gorgeous. Like, just, like, unapologetically. It's the meme of you put glasses on the girl and suddenly she's ugly. Like, it's 100% that, and it makes no sense in the movie that she's supposed to be bullied in any way. It's like, no, she would be one of the popular girls. There's no reason not to. This is contrived bullshit.
How do we all feel about The Last House on the Left?
I don't think I've ever actually seen the remake.
I've never seen it either.
I can say that it's the most uncomfortable I've ever been in a theater in my life.
Yeah,
hands down.
Hold back. That's the one thing that made me go, well, maybe it's good, because at least if you're a Last House on the Left or Last House on the Left fan, maybe that's something that's a good thing. You want it to not hold back and be very sanitized, like a lot of those horror.
I assumed that Modern Sensibilities were going to sanitize that movie, and then the scene that I don't even have to name because people who've seen both movies know what I'm talking about is overlong and just it's got all these like gross camera angles and like it's filmed in a way that made me feel fucking dirty. And then it just kind of plays out the original one, except for the ending where the dad sticks the main dude's head in a microwave, takes the cover off, and like rigs it so it basically cooks his head.
That would take a lot of work.
I know.
That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of. That's a lot of.
Ridiculous.
I mean, you could just stick a cube of ice with a spoon in the microwave and kill him that way.
Yeah, or just put a can of unopened soup in there and tie him to a chair. Yeah. Actually, speaking of films that have very uncomfortable things that happen in them, and this is for the original version. I've never seen it, but I Spit on Your Grave. Did that really need to have a remake?
That's one of those ones.
How many did it have? Did it have 5 or did it have 7?
Those were like sequels to the remake that they made. The original one, there was just I Spit on Your Grave. As far as I remember, that was it. Or were there more than one I Spit on Your Grave films?
Did we need?
I'm seeing 2 I'm seeing 3 and 4 listed on Google.
Are you sure those aren't for the remake though?
I have the remake right now because I didn't pay attention to this as soon as I heard it was coming out. I'm like, and it's gone from my consciousness. I don't want to ever think about it ever again.
I Spit on Your Grave 2 from 2013.
Oh my god.
I Spit on Your Grave Vengeance is Mine from 2015. And I Spit on Your Grave Deja Vu 2019.
I am dead inside.
Now, my question is this supposed to be the same woman throughout all the film? And if so, is it the same shit happening in every one of these sequels that happens in the original? Because if it is, I would have killed myself if I was.
I don't want to know the answer to that question.
No, I don't want to know the answer either. Like, anybody who's like, oh, I might want to check that out, don't. No. Don't watch this movie. Watch that movie that's on Shudder. What is it? Revenge? Revenge?
Oh yeah.
I've heard that's very good.
Which is much better.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I remember back in my 20s, I was going through all of these quote unquote classic shock films, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch I Spit on Your Grave, and about half an hour in, I'm like, I'm really not comfortable with this. 45 minutes in, I'm really not comfortable with this. Like after 2 hours or whatever amount of time, I'm just like, no, never, ever, ever again. Like that movie left an indelible mark on my soul.
Yeah, I'm like, as I got older, especially, I am less tolerant of like shokorama, like stirring up controversy with intent, horror films that are just trying to gross you out. Because it does nothing for me. One, like, and as soon as Human Centipede came out, I was like, I'm done with this genre forever.
Yeah, well, that was the thing though, specifically about I Spit on Your Grave. Like it wasn't the shock gore. It was just the continual and unapologetic rape scenes. Yeah. Like it's unnecessary. And I haven't seen the newer one because why would anyone ever watch it? But I worry that they made it even worse in the newer ones.
So I read too much of the Wikipedia.
I did.
And I Spit on Your Grave 3 is a sequel to I Spit on Your Grave. I Spit on Your Grave 2 is a completely different film.
Okay, that's a equally worse, egregious sin is to make 3 of these movies and then not have them make any sense. What the fuck?
What did you glean from Wikipedia about these terrible movies?
Okay, so this is actually a good development. It looks like the third one, it's more like she's dealing with her trauma, and she teams up with another girl who was also a victim of assault, and they're just going after and like brutally murdering rapists. Okay. That's actually not a bad idea. I'm never watching this film. Still, never, not once.
Absolutely not.
But I kind of respect this premise much, much more. Yeah. Fucking Anchor Bay.
And on the note of unnecessary remakes that involve rape, Straw Dogs, which one could argue is a bit of a horror movie. Have any of you seen
I haven't seen either of those movies.
The Peck and Paw one is good if you can either A, stomach, or B, fast forward. I would advise the fast forward part, because the rape scene in it is horrific. But it's interesting to see Dustin Hoffman as a badass in it. But it's you kind of a nebbish badass, but still badass. But if you've never seen it, you really should watch it just to see it and understand where some of the issues that people had with Peck and Paw came from, other than him just being like the 1950s and the 70s man's man type of ideal. But yeah, it's good, but I don't understand why that movie needed to be remade. Like there's absolutely
honestly,
no reason.
when you were beginning that little sentence, I thought you were going to go with The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. Oh God. Oh, that remake. Yeah. Ooh.
Well, that's Alexandra Aja, who remade The Hills Have Eyes. He's the guy who made that High Tension, a movie that everyone loved for a while and then hated years later because they're like, hold on, that twist doesn't make a fucking lick of sense.
I hated it after I saw it. Like 10 minutes later, I was like, "Wait, any fucking sense?"
It presents way too many logical fucking canyons that you cannot cross.
No.
Also remade Piranha, and I think the Piranha remake is fantastic.
I've heard that. I've never actually seen it.
Is it like a super expensive, joyful B movie?
I've heard that it does all the things that we've said are the good things.
Jerry O'Connell is a Girls Gone Wild smut peddler who gets his dick bit off. James gets into the water about thigh deep, takes the engine off a boat, and is just ripping piranhas apart with it. And the beginning has Richard Dreyfuss showing up to get into his boat, sing the song from Jaws, and then be murdered by a underwater tornado of piranha.
Wait, Richard Dreyfuss came out of retirement and his seclusion to do the Piranha remake.
Yes. And it kind of sets a great tone right away because he's drinking Amity beer and he's whistling "Show Me the Way to Go Home," and then within a minute he's getting his skin ripped off by a bunch of killer mutant fish.
Jesus
that's kind of
Christ.
great. I kind of love that. That's pretty.
I can understand why he would do that then. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Apparently, the sequel to that Piranha Double D is terrible, and I've never bothered.
Wait, you mean the movie that's named after boobs is bad?
You get the joke? Titties.
Yeah. There's a lot of others. Let's see.
A ton have been for. Go ahead.
One I've never seen, but I can only assume is bad is the Poltergeist remake.
Oh man, that's a movie that I forgot existed the moment it came out.
Oh god. Holy shit, I totally forgot about that movie. That's got what's his face? Shit, I can't remember the actor's name.
Sam Rockwell, I believe.
Sam Rockwell, but the guy who took over for the short woman, I can't remember. He was in Fringe. He's been in a bunch of different stuff. He's one of those bad guys. Talk amongst yourself. I'll find out who he is.
I never bothered, and once I heard it coming out, I gone with my life.
Well, also,
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how you release this remake and not have some kind of like fanfare around it, or I don't know how you have it so uneventful that people just forget it exists.
Mm-hmm. Well, to me, this has the same problem that like doing an Exorcist remake would have right now, which is why? Why would you do that? How many exorcism movies have there been in the last 10 years alone?
A good point. Like the Exorcist gets remade every time a horror movie has its climax.
Exactly. And like this Poltergeist movie, it came out in 2015. Insidious 2 was like 2014, I want to say. I can't be sure of that, but it's like, why would you do this? Insidious exists. The Conjuring 1 has happened. You don't need Poltergeist. You have the modern Poltergeist equivalent right there. It exists already. Why
there
are
are movies. There are movies that run parallel to the alleged true story that The Exorcist is supposedly based on. Like I think The Rite with Anthony Hopkins is like based on the account of the alleged priest who performed an exorcist, or performed the exorcism. I think there's a found footage movie that played like an exorcism movie that doesn't have an ending. It's what is it called? Oh shit.
What is it called?
I can't.
The Vatican tapes?
No, it wasn't the Vatican tapes. Well, that's another example I forgot about.
Is it The Exorcist? No, what is it?
No, I think the last exorcism is great. I can't remember the name of this movie, but it ends with like the camera stops after like a car accident, and then a fucking URL pops up and says, "See what happens. Go to this fucking website."
No.
It's so infuriating. It's on the level of like Amazing Spider-Man 2 ending with what was it, like a barcode or something? A fucking
oh my god!
And one of those scan codes. What the fuck they are. And here's the thing: if you watch that movie now, which again I can't remember the name of it, and go to that URL, the URL doesn't exist anymore. That movie literally does not have an ending.
They didn't buy domain insurance for that movie. Are you kidding me?
It's the Devil Inside.
There we go.
The Devil Inside. That's what it was.
That's the thing, because I remember the trailers for that. I was like, oh, that actually looks kind of good. And then I heard about that. I'm like, you will never see a single penny from you assholes.
Yeah, and like it's weird because like good exorcism movies do come out. I watched that movie with Aaron Eckhart where he's an exorcist who uses science and the Inception method basically to exorcise demons, and it's pretty good. That's
Scott Derrickson, isn't it?
No, it's not him, but it is Blumhouse.
Okay,
I can't remember who actually directed that movie, but I watched it, and by the end I was like, oh, that was an Exorcist remake. But it was a good Exorcist remake, and I didn't realize it was one until the movie ended, which is the sign that it was not awful. But I was like, okay, and that movie did nothing. Like nobody remembers that movie even came out at all. But like there are other movies that continue to just get made and get sequels, and
that's kind of like most of Aaron Eckhart's career. Let's be honest.
Well, yeah.
It's
what
Incarnate.
happened to him? Was he Incarnate? Was he cursed? Was he?
I think Chris Antista brought this up on Laser Time. You know, like what ancient god Aaron Eckhart pissed off, or like what maybe he had something with a Hollywood executive or something like that. But like he was the movie closing villain in one of the biggest movies of all time and is central to the plot, and does a good fucking job, and then just... And maybe Frankenstein has something to do with that.
You cut out.
Yeah, we lost you there.
Fucking damn it!
I think what the issue was is that he and Thomas Jane actually are the same person, but they've just been split. So they need to reunite to form the actual original person who would be Thomas Eckhart.
Eckhart?
Yes. There was another film that it's exorcism based that I don't think a whole lot of people paid attention to, but I watched it a while ago on, I think it was HBO. That it wasn't that bad. It was what was his name? Eric Bana is in it. He plays a cop, and he gets teamed up with a priest.
Night.
Yeah, it wasn't half bad, surprisingly. Like, it's
and that one's based off of a true story also.
Yeah, quote unquote.
Is it Deliver Us from Evil?
It
well,
might
a lot
be.
of them are. But that one, like, you can actually watch interviews with the cop from that. And there was a documentary made about these two, I think.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Deliver Us from Evil. Yeah, that was it was surprisingly a good, like, I won't say good, but it was a fun movie to watch. Oh, and it was directed by Scott Derrickson. That explains a lot. All right.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So, are there any remakes coming up that we're either dreading or looking forward to? Because the only one I can think of right now is Candyman.
Well, even then, that one's sort of like a continuation type thing. So I'm excited.
Maybe, like,
yeah, like I'm very into it. Like, the moment you tell me it might be kind of a sequel, I'm like, okay, well, I trust you a little bit more now because you have more that you're going to uphold, and there's a certain base level of quality that I kind of expect.
I'm seeing a trend here with Arlen's likes, which are movie universes.
Well, here's the thing: a lot of the remakes that I like are, they don't do a very good job of establishing something that is standalone. There are remakes I can think of if I look at them that maybe I like more.
Holy shit, we haven't even brushed over it yet. But then again, what is there to say? Because
that doesn't count. It was a TV movie. It was a TV movie. It was the most sanitized version of that story you could ever get.
It's true.
Exactly.
Why is he so mean?
Exactly. It's God damn it. Why is he so mean? Like,
why does he have to be so mean?
God damn it.
No, but that movie's definitely better, guys. Come on.
It was better simply because Tim Curry was present, and that is it. That's all it needed.
That's everything.
All 4 fucking hours of it
is Tim Curry.
Oh, it's a shame it was ripping off Stranger Things.
God damn it!
Wow. It is an evergreen dunk. So I'm actually looking at like a list of stuff that like may be coming out, like rumored. The Grudge already happened, and we all as a society said no fucking thank you and moved on.
I don't think anybody was in the mood. They released that in January, which is the most depressing month.
I love the idea of a whole audience going like, I am in no mood for your shenanigans. Okay.
Well, and all right, this is kind of a, let's say, I guess, uneducated white guy view. So please bear with me if this comes across as insensitive. Sure. But I feel like when the original remakes of like The Grudge and The Ring and all that were happening, there was a certain mystique to foreign films, specifically Japanese horror films. And now that a lot of that stuff, the production values have gotten much better, or at least they've gotten much better to an American eye, the mystique isn't there, and all you have to do is watch the original version. We don't need a remake of these films now.
I'll back you up and I'll say this. Those movies have already influenced other movies to the point where you don't need to remake them. They've had a larger cultural impact on the movies that are being made right now. I don't think the sort of Blumhouse era of the last 10, 15 years exists without those J-horror movies. And I think that they learned a lot from those movies in terms of how they write their stories and the kinds of stories that they like to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And how they structure the scares are totally different, because I can't think of a time where I was watching like the original Grudge, like the original Ring, Pulse, One Missed Call, like the whole wave. I can't think of a notable jump scare or one that involves like the violins being lit on fire and fucking camera tricks and whatever. Remakes seem to always have that, and one of the things I always wanted them to take from the remakes was the subtlety. Like, just don't fucking blast me with tension music while something's hiding in the corner. Just put it in the corner and wait for me to find it.
Well, that's the problem of modern horror in general. Like, there's no patience with the audience, and assuming that the audience will be able to figure it out. It's the one thing that I'll give the Paranormal Activity movies credit for, but they went the exact opposite direction.
Oh man,
like. Well, let's just assume the audience has all the patience in the world and give you one scare per movie. And
make the most interesting parts of the endings what you have to get to.
Right, and it's like, and this is why I'm not as against, say, Hereditary as some people are, because Hereditary is all the Paranormal Activity movies in one movie. And I understand the choice to do that and to just make it one movie instead of 70 hours of footage. That's what it felt like when I was trying to watch them. It was like, stop this. Somebody take the remote from my hand and turn this off.
Do you stop at the marked ones, or do you stop at Ghost Dimension?
I skipped after 3.
Okay, 3? So the marked ones is really fun because it just enters schlock territory at some point, and like Spanish gangsters are showing up to shoot witches with shotguns.
Well, the marked ones also
it's fucking rad, dude.
The
marked
ones is the marked ones is the it's the Avengers of those movies. Yes. Like, everything comes together. All the threads suddenly make sense in that movie.
That movie has time travel. That movie has like Chronicle influences.
What the fuck?
It is insane.
It ends at the ending of the first movie. Like, it all ties back around.
Like, the main character is running, and then something happens to him. He gets disoriented. He turns around, and he's in Mika's house. And Katie's downstairs, and it's right after she gets up from the bed at the end and goes downstairs and screams and knows Mika at the camera. So you see her in the kitchen. She's doing nothing but staring into space. And then as this kid is like, dude, hello, that's when she starts screaming. And she's basically saying, like, there's an intruder in the house. Come get him. He comes downstairs, and then she murders him. And then, like, another demon appears and does, like, one final jump scare. Yeah, it's totally off the fucking rails. It's really fun. And the Ghost Dimension is a fucking CGI snooze fest that presents really cool ideas and does nothing with them.
Shocking.
I would have thrown something at my TV if I had to watch another hour of that shit. Of that fucking trash. I am so glad that I missed out on those movies because I was not missing anything.
I saw the first one in a packed theater at like 11 o'clock at night when it first came out. And that I think is the optimal way to have seen those movies. Like, or at least the first two. Like, everything after that I'm unaware of because nah, man. But yeah, it's there's something fun about like watching people lose their shit at even the tiniest of scare scenes, and then at the very end seeing people like leaving the theater before the movie's completely over because Mika's body just got thrown at the camera. They're just like, I'm out, I'm done, I'm out, bye. Like, hearing people scream, what the fuck, and then leave the theater. Like, that was how I ended up enjoying the first two. But outside of that, I haven't watched any of the other ones.
The second one has probably my favorite jump scare in like horrors when like the mom is in the kitchen. It's like broad daylight, and you're conditioned to think like daytime, no scare, nothing's gonna happen. This is the quiet part. And like the kitchen fucking explodes, and everything just moves at the same time. My heart jumped out of my fucking chest. I was like, that was fucking terrifying.
And I'll say this. One of the scares that actually stands out to me is actually from the third one. And it's the babysitter that keeps getting up to, like, check something. And eventually it, like, because the camera's been set up on a swivel.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I did see the third one. Continue.
Yeah, and like it's just like pans over, and there's a sheet behind her that's like standing.
Yeah.
Fuck no.
Yes.
That was the first time in that whole night of me watching those movies. I was like, oh, that's genuinely fucking freak and unnerving, and wow, I don't know what to do with that. And then the rest of the movie is just like a lot of people going to sleep, going to bed. Yeah. Except for when they bring that one guy in who's like the assistant for the camera company or whatever. Their weird way of explaining why they have cameras in 1985.
I must not have seen this movie because I don't remember any of this.
That's yeah.
It's the third one is the one that takes place the furthest back in the timeline because it takes place in the 80s. So yeah, it has its moments. So it's worth a watch at least once, which I think is the biggest weakness of those films. Is once you've seen it once, it's just like this is completely disposable.
Yeah. I'm scrolling down this article of like upcoming horror movie remakes, and I came across something that is truly horrific. I don't know if this is actually going to be a thing. Oh, Hellraiser is a series that is in fucking limbo, and the studio that owns it is just abusing it left and right. I don't have to speak anymore about how much disdain I have for the most recent movies. It's so this says David S. Goyer's Hellraiser.
Nope.
Fucking kill me slowly.
Okay. What the fuck?
I'll devil's advocate this for just a minute. Because why not? For the sake of the show and for entertainment value. David S. Goyer started at Full Moon, is it? Full Moon Studios?
Maybe?
The Puppet Masters and the whatever they're called. Demonic Toys. Joe would know.
Robot Jocks.
But that's where David Goyer started out. I think his first movie was Demonic Toys versus something or whatever. So he has a background in horror. And maybe
those full movies, would you really call them horror?
I know, I'm just saying, I am stretching. I'm very much stretching right now. Maybe he has a respect for the Hellraiser series that might pull him through. But at the same time, we brought it up earlier, this is the man that made The Unborn.
I was about to say, it is the guy who wrote The Unborn, which has a couple cool jump scares, but outside of that, it's super fucking boring.
The plot of that movie is fucking bonkers.
Is that the movie that its big selling point was the poster because they had the lead actress in her underwear? Yeah, all right. That was the biggest thing about that movie. I remember reading.
Not Megan Fox in the movie.
They took full advantage of Odette Yespin being one of the most beautiful women who's ever existed. And slapped her in the poster and just put her in underwear.
Because I remember reading about that. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna pass on that. Real quick, did David Goyer have anything to do with the Inhumans? I'm going someplace with this.
No.
I don't know if he did.
Okay, because I was going to say if he did, like when he remakes Hellraiser, what'll happen within the first 10 minutes? Pinhead will have all his pins pulled out of his head, and like the Chatterer won't have teeth, and
Oh, there was a first time someone's tried to do this. Clive Barker tried doing it, and because the rights are such a fucking disaster, I guess he backed off. And then, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, out of nowhere, with no announcement whatsoever, I can't remember who, but someone released a, like, maybe 2-minute long short film as, like, a pitch for a Hellraiser remake with these, like, wild-ass visuals, a complete redesign of Pinhead. And it just died. There's a bunch of, like, production stuff you can find about it that's interesting. Dimension has no interest in anything with the series except for cranking out as many cheap fucking sequels as they can before the company dies.
I mean, Bob Weinstein has to make money somehow, especially now that his brother is gone. The remakes I'm actually most excited about are coming from Universal. We talked about the Thing remake that they're doing, and it's not really a remake. It's really a back to the book adaptation. I'm into that. I'm very into that, honestly. because there's some interesting stuff in that book that hasn't actually been touched yet. So I think they could make an interesting movie out of that.
I haven't seen Invisible Man yet, but everyone's told me that movie rocks.
That movie's phenomenal.
I did give you a code, and I don't know if you've actually gone around to trying to.
I forgot you gave it to me.
I'll put it again if you need.
I think they're good for a long time. I'll just redeem it after this.
Well, I really just want to know if it works because I don't mind talking about this right now. I bought the movie and I got like a code up ahead of time, and it's a different code than the one I gave you. So if I know that I can get 2 codes from now on, I'm just going to do that and give the other codes to you or somebody else.
Well,
if I have that option.
To delve into it a little bit, where did you buy it from? You buy it from Amazon?
I bought it from Best Buy, and they were advertising that you can buy the Invisible Man right now and get a digital code before it ships to you. So I did that.
And you have it on like Movies Anywhere or Vudu or something like that?
Yeah, I have it right now, but I was given another code. It's the one that's in the case.
Yeah, then that should work. Like they gave you a copy of it before the movie was out, so that other code should work because they can't really go in and redeem that other code that you got. So Connor, you should be good.
Cool. That looked interesting right from the get go. And some of the shots in the trailer, like where she's in the kitchen, she gets lifted up by the throat by something you can't fucking see. I was like, that is scary as fuck.
It's so good. It's shockingly good. My wife and I watched it a week or two ago, and there's a lot of things going on in that movie that are done so much better than it has any right to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because of it, I'm kind of excited for that Wolfman movie that they've only announced an actor, and they announced Ryan Gosling, and that works. That works for me. We've talked about the chat, but the Benicio del Toro Wolfman movie, I think, is actually a fucking good time. It is a good time. It is good. And at first, I actually wasn't like, oh, that's going to be great with Gosling. But I thought back on when they first announced Elizabeth Moss. Now, they announced her, I think, with Leigh Whannell, so I had more of a complete vision in my head of what the movie would be. But Ryan Gosling I would put him in the same category as Elizabeth Moss in terms of acting ability and
definitely,
and how good they are at choosing their next project, and being very in charge of whatever they're doing. So as long as he likes the director that he gets pitted with, I trust that he'll do a good job in the movie. He'll be a good Wolfman, regardless of anything. I have my own personal hang-ups about the Wolfman in particular, but I trust them at this point. Universal they made The Invisible Man, and they did a very good job with that. So as long as they're doing a similar thing, and they're remaining respectful to the original while doing a brand new story, I'm totally into it.
You say that, but they also made The Mummy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but okay. This is a Blumhouse production.
I know, which is it's so weird that it's Universal's stuff, but Blumhouse is like, can we just do it because we're better at it? And Universal's like, all right, you fine, whatever.
I mean, when you look at the amount of money that Blumhouse has made for Universal, their partnership is pretty solid. So I can see why Universal would be like, hey, we make a lot of money just from distributing your movies. What if we actually worked on movies together? And that seems to be working out so far. So,
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I kind of hope they don't try and connect these Universal Monster remakes.
At least not right away. If you're gonna do it, please do it later, if at all.
Don't
do it.
How about that?
I mean, I think it might be inevitable, but that's part of the problem. But
here's the thing: they need to fight. All these monsters need to fight at some point.
Well,
I don't know how Invisible Man would really work, but I don't want to ruin
it. He'd get murdered immediately, and then it would be like Frankenstein fighting Wolfman. That's about it. That's all I want to
say. Frankenstein's monster.
Whatever.
Thank
you. Okay, he is Frankenstein's son. I don't care if he's a bastard son. He is his son. So his surname would be Frankenstein. I will fight anyone.
Do you not understand how children are made? Your parents didn't go into a lab and use the parts of bodies to put you together.
That does not change. He's his progeny. He would take the name Frankenstein.
Are you implying that I wasn't created in a lab? Because
he was a creation of him, but that died. Yeah,
his last name is Frankenstein.
Eric.
I'm going to agree to disagree with you on this one. Sorry, Eric, I'm going by the original text of the book.
Then what? That has nothing to do with it. He created him. He calls him his creator. That's
so. No, whatever. I think you're taking too narrow a view of that. It's a broader thing.
That's not a narrow view. He would be considered his son. What? I don't. Well, okay, we're not doing this. We're at 2 hours. We need to get.
I was going to say, Invisible Man doesn't have to be killed. He can just have what happened to him in the League comic.
Oh
yeah,
no!
If they do a crossover, it just needs to make sense naturally. But like the original crossovers never did. That's the thing.
They won't.
I love those movies, but none of them make any sense whatsoever.
They need to introduce Abbott and Costello. That's the only way it'll work.
I mean, yes, absolutely. Let's do that.
Would anything be an improvement over Tom Cruise walking to a room and basically it being like, the franchise room, there's some vampire teeth, the creature of the Black Lagoon's hand in a jar, and a whole bunch of other stuff that you're going to look at and go, I know that thing.
I mean, yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that. I don't know, like what they're doing so far is very character driven and not the kind of thing where you need to really visit these characters again. Like The Invisible Man doesn't need a sequel, and I don't think it ever will have a sequel. I know that's what they're doing for these other Universal monster movies. There's no real reason for there to be a crossover. At least with what they've done so far.
Yeah.
So I don't need it. If they do it, I hope they do it well, but I can go without it. I'll be fine.
If they do, I will say if they do a crossover, I don't think it should be all the characters that Blumhouse is doing. I think it should be its own separate thing.
I agree, actually.
If you get what I mean.
Like how Freddy vs. Jason is technically straddling a line between like both of the series, but if you watch it as its own thing, it works perfectly fine.
Yes,
as long as you know who both those people are. I think this could work in the same way. Just make it a big old battle royal or something. Because that would be a schlock fest. Like it has to be something you can take seriously. And you go and just watch Splatterfest.
Right. If they just made it like a good version of the original House of Dracula or House of Frankenstein, if they just did that, like the version that people who watch that movie and get disappointed by the fact that it's literally like, for this 10 minutes, this is the monster. For this 10 minutes, this is the monster. Like it's a relay race of monsters, but none of them interact on screen with each other, with one exception being that the Wolfman is there on screen with Dracula, and then the sun comes up. So Lon Chaney Jr. runs down the stairs to Dracula's coffin and stakes him. So technically the Wolfman killed Dracula in that scene. But it's not what you want. It's not Van Helsing, where it's a werewolf ripping a vampire's fucking throat out. Those movies are really dumb and really goofy, and I would love them to just remake those and just do like a direct sequel to those movies. Cast a character actor who looks exactly like Lon Chaney Jr. Do that. Give me that movie. I'll watch it. Nobody else will, but I will.
I like Van Helsing because it's fucking stupid and ridiculous and totally over the top.
Van Helsing is hilarious to watch now.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's fantastic.
I think we can wrap up now, though.
Yeah.
Before we talk about like every better remake in existence, and there's some I just choose not to revisit. I've probably forgotten about half of them anyway.
I mean, the ones we didn't mention, they didn't deserve our attention. They weren't even worthy of us. So
they deserve to be dead to time.
Yeah, and we're so important, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Us not acknowledging them is a sign of I'm not. It's dead. Whatever that is. All right. So pluggy plugs. Hey, Movie Dumpster. We got the Willies out now. The one before that was. Wow, my memory's getting so bad. The Willies is out, but that's got Michael Ray Bauer, Donkey Lips from Salute Your Shorts. We interviewed him for 4 hours, and Joe is in the process of editing that now, and it should be out soon.
Oh my.
It's nuts. I've talked about the contents of it, I think, our last episode, but he was super nice. Friends with him on Facebook now, which is a super surreal thing to say. Yeah, and also that Midsummer thing that I made is now up on the MD Instagram page, and I'm curious to see how many people will tell me I'm shameful, because I am. Outside of that, I think we're doing The Stepfather next, so yeah, look out for that.
Nice. Lost Horror Podcast. Sometimes weekly show, depending on how we're feeling. James Bond spinoff sort of side show. Newest episodes coming out tomorrow as of the time that we were recording this. So look forward to that. We cover George Lazenby's one Bond film, and Sean Connery just very angrily just trudging his way through his last movie, his last official movie. So go listen to that episode. And we recently recorded a guest episode for that also. So that will be out in a month or so from now. But that one features John Scott, a recurring guest on this show. So yeah, look forward to all that. And I think that's all I got.
Showdown.
All right. Follow me on Instagram at Luis Gonzalez, no space.
Wow, you spun it back on him.
I did. I got nothing else really. I did Secret Sessions, a podcast recently. Go listen to that episode; it's really funny.
Yeah,
other than that,
I am going to be on that show soon too. I forgot about that.
Our Ariel told me, and I told her we have to fight now. So,
I mean, you guys do that in everything. So yeah.
That's true. We do. That's it for me. Really.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm Eric Fedorchak. Whatever, Instagram, Facebook, blah blah. The state of the world right now is unbelievably horrific, and the onus is on anyone who is white to support anyone in your life who is a person of color, not just specifically black people, but as of right now, yes, your focus should be on the racial equality that needs to be achieved in this country, because as we're learning on a daily basis, we have a police force and a government that's out of control, and the only way to hold them accountable is to make your voice heard. If you can't attend protests, if you can't be part of, which I'm not advocating, but I am, if you can't be part of riots that are constructive against the police, find out different groups that you can donate to. All you have to do is look up various places that are looking for money for bonds and bails for people who are looking for food and medical donations, which I'm sure they will gladly take PayPal. I support black artists that you enjoy, because they need to have their voices heard just as much, if not more, right now. And don't let this be just I did my $10 donation, I feel like a good person. Continue to support these people. Can go out to find your local POC businesses and support them for takeout food or whatever the case might be. Like, the onus is on us as white people, the most overprivileged race, not even race, the most overprivileged skin tone in the world, to actually look out for everyone else who's around us, because it's not a matter of race, it's a matter of human beings, and you need to stop being assholes to each other. Also, fuck 12.
Yes, fuck 12. It's always been fuck 12.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to get that in because we didn't get to talk about it during the show.
No, that's fine. And I don't think any of us could possibly add to that because that basically sums up the rest of us have to say. The most we can do is say seconded.
Yeah. So yeah, I know there's probably only like 3 or 4 people listening, but do what you can. Like do what you can to help, and continue to try and help, because it's not going to stop once the protests stop. It's going to still be there, and people need to be aware of it.
It's a thing where people need to accept that this is the way this country is. Like I was listening to Off Topic, which is a podcast that Achievement Hunter does. And they were saying the America that we're fighting for right now is the America people thought we had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really rings true. And in order to make it that America, we like us white people, we need to make it that way. Because we can. And I know it's hard and it might affect people mentally and all that, but this is I see the unity. I don't see it at all negative, because there's a lot of negative, but I see things happening where we are trying to do that, and maybe it happens. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't think any of us do.
And if you have questions, do your research. Don't burden your friends who are people of color with this, because they're already dealing with this shit. It's so heavy on all of them. I'm sure some people will be willing to help you out and lead you in the right direction, but the benefit for yourself and the people that you care about in your life, do your research before you try and enter into anything. And don't be afraid to make a mistake, and don't be afraid to say you're sorry if you do make a mistake on something, because that goes a long way. It's a learning process for a lot of people, and it's something that I'm still learning new things every day that I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know this happened, or I didn't realize that would be considered insensitive for some reason. But regardless, it's a learning process, and the only way learning happens is by making mistakes and learning to humble yourself and say you're sorry when you do learn about mistakes.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry, it got really serious there.
Yeah.
As a country,
it's a needed seriousness. So
yeah.
No. Also, racism was started underneath the Denver airport.
No, all right.
No, we're not doing that.
Right back around.
Yeah. All right, let's get this goofy ass ship into the dock, into the.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Black Lives Matter.
Suck 12.